Support for WUWM podcasts comes from University School of Milwaukee, fulfilling a values-based mission of developing learners, fostering leaders, and preparing citizens for pre-kindergarten through 12th grade. More information at usm.org/mission.
Lake Effect brings you conversations about what's happening in Milwaukee and the people, places, and organizations that shape our community. This is Lake Effect Spotlight from WUWM, Milwaukee's NPR.
Fat Body Hotties is here to celebrate fat joy in Milwaukee, and they're proud about it. Sarah Chojnacki started the group after seeing a need for affordable and size-inclusive clothing. Alongside their co-organizer Ashley Mertes, they regularly host free clothing swaps for fat folks. Lake Effect's Xcaret Nuñez speaks with Chojnacki and Mertes about how the group has created community through its inclusive and accessible events. Chojnacki starts by explaining the mission of Fat Body Hotties.
So Fat Body Hotties is really a group for anyone that identifies as fat or plus size. So we try to stay away from plus size and use fat just to kind of reclaim that word. So yeah, it's really just a space for fat people to come together, swap clothing. That's kind of primarily what we do now. And it's also just a space to be in a room full of people that look like you, to have conversations about being in a fat body, and to get, some really essential resources.
I'm very thankful and grateful that Sarah welcomed me for being able to be a co-organizer and being able to be a part of this awesome space and mission for doing what we can with this. Sarah had 2 clothing swaps before I joined and hadn't had one for a while. And I just wanted to be a part of the change you want to see in the world and potentially make things easier on Sarah with organizing and behind the scenes aspects that can go into a clothing swap, and just trying to do our best to contribute to positive spaces that are fat positive, gender inclusive, disability inclusive, and that people can be their authentic selves.
Absolutely. I love that. And as a fellow hottie myself, I've personally never come across a space like this. So Sarah, I wanted to ask you, can you talk more about the meaning behind the name and how this group first started?
So I moved here to Milwaukee in, I think it was 2021, and didn't really start doing Fat Body Hotties until I think it was 2023. And I was going to different thrift stores and just not finding anything in my size, or there's this fat tax with clothing if you're buying it, not necessarily from a thrift store, although I do see it sometimes that the prices are different, but more so those stores that are kind of geared towards fat bodies like Lane Bryant or Torrid. The quality of the clothing has kind of been declining over the years, and also the prices just keep getting more expensive. So, as I was entering kind of the workforce, I didn't have any professional clothes that fit me, that looked good on me. And so I was just thinking about, I have clothes that I don't wear anymore. What if I just host a little get together with a couple of folks where we exchange clothing? And so that was kind of the idea that got it all started. And specifically for the name, I wanted it to be catchy, but also positive, right? So we're not only trying to provide this clothing swap, but we're also wanting to uplift the folks that we're working with. So not necessarily talking about body positivity, while that is important, of course. We're more so talking about and working towards body liberation.
Yeah, I attended the swaps that Sarah had at their apartment, and I just absolutely loved what Sarah was putting together. I have background in mutual aid stuff with Food Not Bombs and a little bit of organizing there. And it's just so much easier when it's more of a collaborative experience and a little bit of help. So it's so much nicer being specific and really intentional with the way that we're doing it. With all of our clothes are XL and above. They're gender inclusive. We have ASL interpreters on site for anyone who's deaf and hard of hearing. Sherman Phoenix is wheelchair accessible. We recently decided on Sherman Phoenix and just feel like that's our home, and that's where we're going to be having them from now and going forward. And for anyone who's not familiar, Sherman Phoenix is like a mini mall, but instead of corporations, it's small businesses owned by people of color, majority Black-owned small
Yeah.
businesses. So we're just wanting to be the change we want to see in the world and put our best foot forward with being anti-consumerist with the clothing swap. And then when you're done enjoying the clothing swap, that you can browse the small businesses and have a good time as well. So we just love our partnership there and our partnership together.
That's amazing to hear, and also a really collaborative effort. I kind of want to go back to something that you both brought up earlier of using the word fat, and it's something that you're reclaiming and using with pride. Can you talk more about that, Sarah?
Yeah, I wanted to use fat because while the body positivity movement has, encouraged people to be more accepting of bodies that look differently from others, we're taking that a step further and talking not only just about fat bodies, we're talking about disability, we're talking about all forms of ability, taking it beyond just acceptance and moving toward liberation. So we were intentional about using fat. I've my whole life have been called fat in a like derogatory way. And I hated that word so much because it hurt me so much. But then, as I kind of found my voice and really, too, with this group, not afraid to say, I identify as fat and I'm proud of that. And that's something I want other people to feel as well. But further, I want to fight not only just for fat folks, I want to include everyone, because if you're fighting for liberation, you can't exclude anyone.
And I feel like also, if you're not a fat person, like for me personally, people don't think about how the world is different through this lens. Does that make sense?
No, 100%. I 100% hear you. Yeah.
Can you tell me about your relationship to clothes or shopping or just navigating spaces?
Something I don't think we've really been asked before is like our personal kind of relationship. So yeah, I mean, especially being like femme presenting, I feel that body image is such a huge, thing to tackle. And specifically, when you're in a fat body, people automatically assume that you're fat and you're femme, which is just not the case. I'm non-binary. There are lots of other folks that are not feminine that are also fat. But my experience primarily have always struggled shopping for clothes, never been able to find clothing in my size. And as fellow fat body hotties, I'm sure you can relate to this, that when you go shopping for clothing, that's kind of outside the norm. So outside of size, what is that, 14, 16? Especially when I was younger, no options. I had to wear some of my mother's clothing. I had to wear my older sister's clothing. Not only that, I'm thinking about when I was in college and I couldn't fit in the desk chairs. When I traveled a couple times and I couldn't fit in the seat in the airplane and I had to get extender belts, and I felt so terrible for even having to ask for that. Going to the movie theaters, am I going to fit in the seats? If I go to an event, if the chairs are going to be able to hold me, it's something I'm thinking about all the time. This world was not made for bodies that are bigger or that look anything other than a smaller size and able-bodied. So I just never had a space where it was full of fat people. And so, when I moved here, I knew that the space was needed because I wasn't seeing it. So that's when I was like, no, we need to be intentional about what this group is doing. Also, capitalism. Like, I couldn't even tell you the last time I bought a piece of clothing, just because it's so expensive. And the great thing about these swaps is people will bring brand new clothing with the tags still on it. It didn't fit them or it didn't look right. And everyone is able to kind of pick up these new to them clothing. They're also making connections with people that look like them, right? So every time we have a swap, there's more and more people coming who are like coming from out of the state or from different cities. And they're like, I've needed this so badly. And so the need is there. And as long as that need is there, we will be there.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing all of your experiences with me. Ashley, would you like to add and, share your experiences as well?
I do want to emphasize and acknowledge that I'm privileged in that I am definitely like on the smaller end of plus size spectrum, that I've definitely faced fat phobia and unfortunate experiences still existing in a fat body. And I do want to just make sure that people who are 2X, 4X, 6X, etc., are able to find clothes and able to have a positive experience. That it is an awful downfall of our society that we currently live in and have lived in, that our society pushes that you have to be so small, and especially emphasizing if you exist in a feminine or at least feminine presenting type body, that you have to make yourself smaller and be only in the certain standard that our society pushes on us. And it's to like make money off of us, that we should really like acknowledge that the opposite of capitalism is community, and like being so there for each other, and not even just accepting but like celebrating our differences and celebrating our uniqueness is like something so beautiful. And how we need to recognize and acknowledge those differences, and that's how to be like a good community member, basically.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Absolutely. I can see how Fat Body Hotties is creating a space. I'm Lake Effect's Xcaret Nuñez, speaking with Sarah Chojnacki and Ashley Mertes about the local group they organized called Fat Body Hotties. So I want to move on and talk about the phrase and experience of fat joy. What is fat joy, and how do spaces like Fat Body Hottie clothing swaps create or encourage that? Sarah, can you speak a little bit more to that?
Great question. When I first started this, I also wanted this to be a space to have the intention of joy and happiness. I think that we live in a society where they don't want people to be happy, or they don't want people who are outside of a cis straight man to be happy. Joy is resistance. So bringing these people together, giving them clothing, this creates essential needs that people have. We're connecting with people who probably feel isolated or who haven't had this experience before. So another thing I want to mention is that a lot of trans people and queer people come to our swaps because this is where they're able to find clothing that fits them. So we've had people come up to us and tell us, like, this is gender affirming care. I'm not able to find this anywhere else. I'm able to be myself in this space, and I feel accepted, respected, happy. I'm meeting new people. And this is what we want, like, to be in a space to celebrate who you are without any worries. And so I feel that, Ashley, I feel like we've been really successful with that. And, we're making this space for fat people. It's by fat people, for fat people. And of course, we have had non-fat people come to our events. And at first we were kind of, or at least I was kind of considering, I wasn't sure if I necessarily wanted that. However, I don't want to be exclusionary. If people are needing clothing, a lot of people like to dress up in different styles, different sizes, things like that. Everyone is welcome. It's just that when non-fat people are in that space, they need to know why they're in that space, what that space is for, and who it's for. So we want fat folks to be at the center, and they're, getting all of their items and everything.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I'd love to learn more about what happens at Fat Body Hottie swaps. Like, what should people know if they want to attend and participate?
To start off, this is a completely free clothing swap. You do not have to have donations or bring clothing in to participate. You don't have to bring anything. Of course, it's great when people do. So we have a bunch of tables set up, organized by sizes. So like 1 and 2X, 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, etc. Really what we do is we have a bunch of reusable bags. People from the swaps bring. Ashley usually has a lot because she is also involved with Food Not Bombs. I keep a lot of my bags to reuse as well, and people are able to, pick up a bag or 2 or 3. There's no limit as to what people can grab, and they browse the items. And there are also usually bathrooms that people can go to try things on. Now that we're at Sherman Phoenix, kind of in the down times of when if people aren't looking at clothes or they already have, but they still want to be in the space, there's all of those Black-owned businesses that we are wanting to highlight as well. And so once the swap wraps up a little bit, like I think usually an hour before it ends, we actually start kind of packing up items for local organizations to take back and donate to the communities that they serve. We are really wanting to make sure that we're not only like providing this for our community for people who are able to attend, but there's a bunch of people that are not able to attend, and we want to make sure that they're able to be a part of this as well.
It's okay, I can add. So follow us on social media, Fat Body Hotties, for the events. We're at Sherman Phoenix. And I really love that at Sherman Phoenix, we're in their community space, that it's like right away when you enter the entrance, and then we're basically like right to the right. So easy for anyone who's a wheelchair user to be able to get right to the clothing swap. And if you have any clothes that you no longer want anymore, that then someone else may treasure them. But again, it's not a requirement at all to bring any clothes, just bring your awesome self. And then leftover clothes go to various awesome orgs: Pathfinders, Milwaukee LGBT Center, Harambe's Kitchen. We have Aurora Psych, Behavioral Health, and Freighter's ER that are going to attend and pick up clothes with the coming up swap. And one of the orgs that Sarah and I are so proud of that we donated a lot of clothes to, we had people from a correction center. I want to emphasize that we're completely against the prison system, but we want to do everything we can to help those who have been affected by the prison system and who are transitioning out. So at this correction center, they were emphasizing helping people who are transitioning out back into regular life, and how a lot of these people do not have any clothes whatsoever and would have been just really basic stuff going out. And they potentially are getting really nice stuff with the clothing swap leftovers. So we absolutely love all of our orgs, but I know Sarah and I were really, really proud to have this org help out so many people.
Absolutely. That's amazing that at the end of the day, the clothes that don't get swapped go to good places and spaces. Before we wrap up, in addition to these regular swaps that you both host, what do you picture for the future of Fat Body Hotties in Milwaukee?
So we have kind of already had a lot of people reaching out about a lot of different kind of things that they would like to do. So doing something like a beach or a pool party with Fat Body Hotties. Ashley and I also have very big dreams and goals of having even, I don't know if you know of this, but Chicago has a really big, it's kind of like a fat flea market, I would almost say, or a fat convention called Hot and Heavy. I would love to have something like that in Milwaukee. And yeah, it's really kind of whatever the community is needing or wanting to see, we kind of plan off of that. Right now, it just seems that the clothing swaps are really popular. We know it needs to continue to happen. So we're doing the clothing swaps, but yes, we definitely want to continue to build upon that.
Yeah, like you said, I think it's just a huge testament to how much of a space this is needed in Milwaukee. Ashley, would you like to add what you hope for the future of Fat Body Hotties?
The sky's the limit, that we can really do it. If you put your mind to it and you have big dreams, that the first time maybe not go so well, but don't let that deter you. We could do like a Fat Con Milwaukee or resource fair, fat vendor market. It may just be like 5-10 years down the line, because obviously we're two people and we both have full-time jobs, aren't independently wealthy or anything like that. But big dreams and having big goals makes the world a better place. Maybe in the interim, and our small goals might be like Fat Body Hotties takes over X-Ray Arcade or Cactus Club, have other events that are just more of like a social hour or community day, or come and meet other people that are like-minded and want to make the world a better, more inclusive, accessible space for other folks. But it's really the community that makes all the difference.
Definitely. Well, Sarah and Ashley, thank you both so much for speaking with me today. I really enjoyed learning more about you both, and also the joy of Fat Body Hotties.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Sarah Chojnacki and Ashley Mertes are organizers for Fat Body Hotties. They spoke with Lake Effect's Xcaret Nuñez. You can visit the next Fat Body Hotties clothing swap this Saturday, October 11th. The event will take place from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Sherman Phoenix.
You can find more interviews like this one by visiting wuwm.com/Lake Effect. And while you're there, subscribe to the Lake Effect Spotlight podcast.